doing that.
All right.
It is episode 70. As you can tell, Lego is not here, Hove is not here, so we are missing quite a bit of the technical staff, as well as the podcast boss and the podcast Twitter boss. So this should be a great adventure. But as you do see, it is me, Triton, here doing the hosting today, and also with me as Mana, as the agents have taken over RezoCast for episode 70. Mana, how's your week been, man?
It's been good up until now because I'm kind of panicking. Other than that, it's been pretty good. Been playing a lot of Nier. Once again, neglected everything Destiny. But Nier Automata, I got peer pressured finally into by my chat, and I love it. I actually really like it a lot. Like, it is very addicting, and I do not regret any bit of it. How about you, dude?
I've been having a pretty good week so far. I did jump into the faction rallies a little bit to try and see if I can get Future War Cult to win. They still haven't got a win, actually, but New Monarchy ended up coming away with a win. But I did enjoy doing some of the faction rally stuff. It did give me a reason to do a little bit of everything in the game. Didn't play a ton, but did try to, do some patrols, do little strikes, little PvP. Pretty much a sample of everything to try to get some tokens here. Didn't really get a lot of things that I wanted. I know we talked last week a little bit about the fact that a lot of the Season 1 weapons were kind of being in the engrams. Really, the only Season 2 things you were getting weapon-wise were going to be whether or not you won or lost. So, unfortunately, you're going to have to spend that kind of 50K to get the weapon because I only play with one character. So, yeah. I didn't do the register on every character, so I was safe. So, I am going to have to shell out 50K at some point. But otherwise, it was pretty good. So, there's a lot to talk about today with the TWAB and everything else, but we do want to talk about a few things beforehand, before we jump quite into the TWAB. And one of the things that we wanted to highlight is, since we are playing other games right now, and you mentioned you're playing Nier, I'm playing a lot of Battlefront 2. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was, maybe is there something in those games that you think could work in Destiny, that you would put in Destiny 2 right now that may have you come back?
Actually, really big thing. So Nier has these certain just spots just randomly in the game where your kind of like spaceship / mech comes down and you jump into that. It's kind of like an arcade style just shooter. Like, there's one point where you're just flying kind of like forward at a slant and you only move back and forth shooting forward at enemies. And then it kind of goes into another mode where you take control with your like right stick you normally look around with. And you can aim and just shoot. It's like a little like arcade style, but like the point is, like, you get to use a ship and you get to fight enemies. I'm just thinking, I actually said this very first day, the very first level, I'm just like, Destiny needs that. You need to be able to jump into your ship and shoot some aliens down,
That would be fantastic. That's actually exactly where I'm going to go, because as you know, in Battlefront 2, there is Starfighter Assault.
Yes.
Now, that wasn't in Battlefront 1, but it is in Battlefront 2, and it is awesome. Now, I know that's like a huge thing. We're talking like they would have to do a massive overhaul. That's really not something they could bring in right at this second. But as we look forward into the future, I think everybody wants people to use ships a little bit more, have a little bit more purpose, other than that they look a lot different than the ones that we saw in Destiny 1. And I think that would be a really cool thing. It would be so diverse to what we also have. It's such a good alternative. We talked about when Mayhem came back into the playlist. Like, oh man, it's so different than what we have right now, and that everyone's excited for Sixes to come back and maybe Rumble in the fall. So to get something like Starfighter Assault, although whatever they want to call it in Destiny, that would be so different. It's better than Sparrow Racing League. I mean, I don't want to. I want to say like Sparrow Racing League could be like that.
It was interesting. It was fun.
Here. Star Battles would be way different than the Sparrow Racing League. But yeah, that offered an alternative.
Like, even like think about like the very first raid where you fly up into Callus's ship, or what is it called, the
Leviathan.
Leviathan. How cool would it be if they just had like just not even like a large section, just a small section of the first instance, you flying in and you're using your ship, your custom ship that you have and want to use, and you get to fly around. You have to like take down the defenses or something crazy. Like, that
would be cool.
Just something simplistic, not even like Battlefield type-esque, or not even like Battlefront, how you can like swivel and go back, like speed up and down. Just a simple, use your right stick, look around, blast things out of the air. Maybe L with rockets, or something super wise. Like, you get so many kills and then your ship has some sort of like super meter where it uses like some sort of blast. I think it would just be so much cooler just to add something simplistic where you can just randomly just jump into your ship and finally use it, because so many people were hoping like, you can just you have these cool ships, but they're just there for show, just there for the loading screen, pretty much.
Yeah, just there for that long loading screen.
Pretty much.
So I want to talk about that a little bit about what we would kind of bring from another game into Destiny 2. And the reason being is because as we get into the TWAB, because there's so much to talk about, I really wanted to look at this as a lens of, hey, on a scale of 1 to 5, man, and when we go through these, how much do these things want to make you play Destiny 2 again? Or which one of these things is going to bring you back? Because I think a lot of the community, and when you look on Twitter and you look on Reddit and some of these posts, it's judged through whether or not I care for this, enough to play this game again. So I think some of these things are cool. I think some of these things are necessary, but at the same time, are those things that are going to bring you back? So as we go through the TWAB, I think we'll both hit it 1 to 5, whether or not that's going to make us come back or not, and why we think that way, and then we'll just go through it. So let's start with Iron Banner coming up next Tuesday, January 30th, and the game type is going to be Control. So, Mana, where are you at on, is Iron Banner going to bring you back?
Iron Banner. See, a part of me really wished I jumped back into Destiny during the time of Mayhem, because I actually just last week or the week before, I think it was just last week, I jumped back into D1. Mayhem was up. I was just like, oh crap, guys, like I totally missed out on Mayhem. So let's do this. Let's jump in.
Yeah.
And dude, it was just chaotic fun. I really missed just running around being, just craziness. And it was really fun. So it almost made me want to jump back into D2. It's just like, but I missed it. I missed out on it. So maybe this time, depending on what's in the Iron Banner, I might come back just for I feel like I'm missing out, I see other people on Twitter always saying, oh, I'm still playing and, I'm still doing whatever. But I don't know. It's just like I was the PvP guy in D1. And PvP this time around it just felt like a letdown. Maybe Iron Banner, maybe it'll bring me back.
Okay, so I feel like you're like kind of at a 2, maybe a 3. Maybe a 3 if a lot of people come back in and it really entices you to come back. Is that about right? You feel kind of I'm like on the fence, 2, 3? Hey.
Yeah, 2.
3,
yeah.
Okay. I think I'm kind of like 3, 4. So I mean, I know we're saying scale 1 to 5, but I'm going to say 3 or 4. Probably it's going to really depend on what my first couple experiences are like that.
Yeah,
and
maybe it's like a 2.5 for me.
2.5.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think for me, it's not going to really matter on like, well, is it really sweaty or not sweaty when I jump in there? It's going to be obviously the reward system. So as we look through and we talk about the rewards, one of the things that they addressed is they didn't want to have what happened to the faction rally. So I think they're talking about there have been some changes to decorating your guardians with relics in the Iron Lords, and I think they're also adding new item engrams you'll find waiting for you when you visit Lord Sauron. There'll definitely be Season 2 weapons in the Iron Banner engram. So now you're going to get some Season 2 weapons in some of your engrams. I also know Saladin's going to kind of turn into a vendor of sorts, so he's going to sell some things this time around. So it looks like they are trying to take some of the lessons learned from, just the faction rally we just had and implementing those things. Does that make it any more enticing for you to say, okay, well, let me at least check out a revision to the reward system? I mean, that's a big topic we have.
It's like, see, right there, I'm like on the 2.5 again. So I'm
2.5 again.
I'm probably not going to immediately jump in to check things out. I might, Monster Hunter's right there around the corner. I want to jump into that.
Yep,
of
that's
course.
tomorrow.
That's a really big speed bump for everything coming out right now. But I always pay attention to Twitter. I scroll down, see what people are saying, and honestly, a lot of it comes down to Twitter and see how people, like the people I follow, see how they react. If people are going to be positive, then I might actually jump back in. And people are like complaining, I might maybe jump in for a day. So
okay, no, that's fair. I mean, we know what they are bringing though. They're going to bring a hand cannon, looks pretty cool, a scout rifle, a shotgun, and they were very transparent with some of these other things that we've wanted. So there's going to be a sparrow, there's going to be a ghost. There's going to be an emblem that's now like a lifetime tracker for some of the things that you've achieved in the Iron Banner. And they also said, look, we're not showing it. You have to discover it on your own. But there is also an Iron Banner ship. So they have kind of upped the ante. Now, hey, it's not just weapons. And obviously there's another cool armor set for all the different classes. But we're also going to have a ship. And I think everyone kind of always wants a ship, right? I remember in Callus, like that was the end game. Getting the Callus ship was the end game for some people when there wasn't an end game otherwise to some regards.
I also remember that in D1. What was it? That really big ship, like the really ridiculously sized ship. I think that was the Iron Banner that everyone was trying to get, but it was actually
like was it the toaster ship, the one that had like the two big huge? Okay,
I remember a lot of people trying to get that. It's like you see pictures on Twitter. It's like, how did you get that? No one ever. It's like the drop rate I think was really minuscule back then until they raised it maybe Iron Banner or two later. But I remember that it's just like the ship is like the final prize. You want to have that. You want to come down swaggy.
Come down swaggy. You definitely do. And again, back to our first thing we talked about, it would be great if we could do something with these ships other than just watch them during our load screen or be envious of someone in our fire team that has them also in the load screen. So kind of moving on there, I'm still kind of, again, 3 to 4. It's going to just be how those rewards go. But I do like to see that they are addressing that system. But for me, just like addressing the system alone isn't enough to come back. And that's kind of where I'm at. It's going to have to be, like you said, it's going to have to be people on Twitter saying like, oh, it's raining loot right now. Like it's a very rewarding experience. It can't be, yeah, they fixed the system, but all the cool stuff you want drops at like 1 out of every 20 games. I think that's not going to work. That's definitely not going to work. But let's move on to talking about the Masterworks armor. So we speculated about this a little bit last week, particularly the gains that you're going to get from having the Masterworks armor. And kind of the main perk that we talked about is having that, 15% damage reduction while you're using a super if you have a full set. So we did talk about it. Each piece is going to be worth 3%. The full set's going to be worth 15. I think we kind of speculated on that a little bit before. What do you think about that, man? Where is that 1 to 5? Is that bringing you back?
Bringing me back? I'm not sure. Getting me more excited to what's to come, like the way they're making things now? A 4, probably. Like, I don't know if it's enough to bring me back, but making me like, oh, they're doing things now, So...
Okay, so that's the first piece. Now we knew that was coming. I think it was just became down to, how would that work? How would they stack? What would every piece be worth, et cetera, et cetera. But on top of that, we also know that they're reworking the armor to have different stat packages, and they're calling it heavy, light, or restorative for the Masterworks core and 10 legendary shards. So I think you're being able to rework the armor to kind of be more of like what you want, particularly, I come to hunter legs immediately, like, please let me put recovery on these things. So I don't really quite know what the light and heavy piece is going to be. I don't know if you could speculate that on all, but I mean, they just said, hey, you can rework it to a different stat package. So it probably leans heavily armor, one with mobility, one with recovery, right? I think that's pretty obvious.
Limited probably to that.
Right, but I think that's a good step in the
really
the right
is.
direction for them. So Masterworks seemed to be a pretty big hit, so throwing it on the armor makes sense. Maybe some of the perks initially underwhelming, like just while you're using it in a super, but at the same time too, you don't want someone coming out like, oh, I can't get Masterworks, and now I'm getting wrecked in PvP because the perks are too good, right? So they probably try to find some balance. Maybe they erred on the side of just, hey, that's probably not going to kill anybody by just being stronger in your super.
I guess we're going to have to find out.
Have to find out. So also the raid renewal or raid reward renewal. Wow. Alliteration aside, the raid, which I've not done too much of, is getting a revamp for rewards. I know a lot of people that I play the raid a ton, always complain about never getting anything. Now, I don't know how many of you've done the raid, Mana, but if you haven't done the raid and they're going to make it better, is this an incentive? I'm going to say, to me, this is more of like a 4 or 5 to me. Maybe not a 5, but having not done the raid a lot and knowing that if I do it, I'm going to get stuff that I probably couldn't have got if I did it a lot. Well, that's pretty enticing to me.
Honestly, to me, yeah, this is also probably a 4 or 5 because I like doing the raid. That's probably one of the, like, I'm not big on PvE, but that's the one thing that keeps on bringing me back to do the raids with buddies. Like raid night, I used to have a specific night where me and my buds used to jump on. We used to do the raids on every single character. And back then, I felt like it was good. You got armor, you got weapons, but so far, like the normal raid, it was kind of underwhelming with the loot. The raid, the new stuff that came in with
the lair?
The lair, yeah, the raid lair. I haven't done it yet because I don't know. It's just something never really. I don't know. Something never really attracted me to it. But people have said it was decent. Now that they're redoing the raid with the reward system. And this might be enough. This actually might be enough for me to say this might be worth it now. This might be worth it to grab my buddies again. Let's jump back into the raid or just do it with anyone, really. I'm going to stream a raid tonight. Let's grab some peeps. Let's go in, maybe grab a couple beers, do a drunk raid night. Something just needs to be worth it, and this might be it. I'm looking forward to this.
I think for me, I mean, again, I was ready to. I haven't done the raid a lot, so anything that would get me back in there was definitely going to be enticing. But they've also broken out some tiers for what they're going to do. And one of the things I do like that they're doing a little bit in TWAB, and we've talked about this maybe right before Christmas when they came out and said like, "Hey, we understand we need to be more transparent." They have lived up
Mm-hmm.
to that. So I know there's some times where we're here like, "Hey, you have to do this, you have to do this," and not to say that we're necessarily overly negative. I feel like maybe it's just more of a critique. But I do kind of want to give kudos where kudos are due, and they have stepped up that level of transparency. Doesn't mean everything's been executed great, i.e., kind of how the faction rallies start,
Mm-hmm.
but they have at least tried to do the best they can. And one of the things they were able to do was they brought on the dev. What is his name? Daniel Ockenpong. Oh man, sorry, Daniel, the senior designer, may have just butchered his last name, but he came in. He talked about some of these things in pretty great depth. And when the first thing was the raid armor, now with raid perks. So one of the things I like about this is like some of the activities like you want if you get raid armor, right, you'd want it to help you. I think this would be this would be nice across the board.
Exactly.
But the thing I liked about it was they were talking about we didn't want it to be so mechanically specific that you couldn't use it in like other encounters. Like they don't like, in other words, if it was like, you remember during the Taken King, one of the boots basically made you better to jump across the invisible platforms that only you could see when you were like the Taken.
Oh, I do
Remember
those,
that?
yeah.
So you would get like those things, and those were fine, but those really didn't help you otherwise. So they said like here an example would be like, deal 20 extra damage after getting a melee kill. So you can use that in all the encounters. And I think that's smart because maybe it's not a specific thing like extending your timer for certain parts of that, or maybe you stay less detected by the dogs or something like that. But it doesn't mean you have to swap armor, right? You don't like, oh, let me put on these boots for this one, finish that encounter. So I like that. What do you think about that idea?
So far, I think they're still going in the right direction. That brings in a different dynamic, another incentive to go out and grab these armor pieces, like you want these just for whatever. Is it a set perk for whatever armor piece, or do they not specify? Is it like randomized? Like I'm actually
like you mean like
reading through it right now.
Like so if you want the melee kills maybe specific to like the gauntlets.
Yeah.
I don't know if they specified, like they did say they would be more like a generalized, from what I saw, more generalized perks, but not necessarily like, by the way, the helmet's going to give you this, they I think even the examples he gave may not be the actual perks. I think it was more for an example, hey, or he didn't want to reveal them quite yet, but these would be general things that help you. So I think he gave like 2 examples there. The other thing I thought was smart is they all made them legendary mods for the mods, so you're not gonna have to worry about like that 5 power drop, light level drop. In that regard, he talked about the mods. Double drops, clearing prestige now gives you prestige and normal drops. If you have the prowess to clear prestige and you prove yourself enough that we don't need to force you to go back and do normal as well. That just makes sense, right? I mean, that's been the case in the past. The other thing too is raid encounters always drop a raid piece. Now this is the part that I think brings people back, because now you're not like, oh, just got tokens, right? That was not a fun experience. So now you are going to at least get a raid piece and what they call no longer a dead encounter. I mean, of all the things we're talking about, is just the fact that you're now definitely going to get something, is that the biggest piece as to why this would bring you back?
That's huge, honestly. That's actually really huge. Doing some of these things and just not like just getting anything. Like what, you can get these keys for the raid.
Yeah, you can get the keys and do those chests.
And then, but afterwards, you don't really get anything, and then you have to hunt down those keys. Sometimes I don't even go back for the keys. Sometimes like a couple times we went through the whole thing, and I completely forgot that you can go back through, and there's like that under like maze place where all the keys were.
Like
and then I just hold on to them. I just hoard the keys, and then I remember, oh wait, yeah, that's where all my loot is pretty much. So getting loot from the encounter specifically, that's a huge thing.
Now, how do you feel about like, in the past, I think the raids had like, you knew you could get maybe this weapon from somewhere, you can get the gauntlets from here, you can get the helmets from here, the boots from here. It's no longer going to be specific in that way. So you can basically get the boots from any of the encounters, you can get the gauntlets from any of the encounters. Do you think that's a good addition? Do you think that opening up and saying like, hey, it could be anything is fine? Or do you like a more targeted approach? Because maybe if you knew you only needed the helmet, and you knew that was Callus himself, then maybe you could just search out that checkpoint for the rest of the week.
Actually, I never really thought if like I liked or disliked that. Like, I guess that was a thing. I didn't really think about like back in like Vault of Glass, people were like, okay, this is the only encounter where you can get like the hand cannon, or this encounter you can get the sniper rifle. I didn't really, I don't know. I think I was kind of indifferent about that. I just kind of went through, and whatever I got, I hoped I got what I needed, you know? So it being completely out there, like everything's random, right? Every drop can be just whatever.
Yeah, so now it's not encounter specific as to where you get the drop. So you're going to get a drop, but it may not be the helmet all the time here. In fact, I guess when you randomize it like that, it'd probably be seldom that you constantly get it from there, unless they mess up some kind of algorithm or something.
I don't know. I'm pretty indifferent about that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I think much of it, but I do think when I think, oh man, well, I don't have a lot of time. Not that I do the raid anyways, so I think it's somewhat hypocritical.
Yeah.
But if I did do the raid a lot and I only needed the helmet, I knew I only needed one encounter, then I don't know. But that seems specific, probably nitpicky. I don't think too much of it either way. They're also doing the raid vendor is going to sell a rotating selection of gear. So here is kind of where you can pick up that piece that you don't have. So basically with, I think, some tokens and some legendary shards, I believe. So a combination of some both Callus tokens and legendary shards, you can buy a piece that you don't have. And it's going to rotate. So it may not be the piece you need that particular week. But if you are missing one piece, then you can go purchase it. And the other thing I do think is good, though, and I'll kind of start with this. And this is probably like probably a 3 for me. So I know, we're trying to grade these things. Probably a 3 for me in terms of getting me to come back and do this. But the prestige armor will be there. Now, if you haven't done prestige, you can't really buy the armor. So I think one of the things, though, is, and I think the caveat here, and it may be the biggest one, is I think you need to complete that. You need to complete the raid in order to buy it. So I don't think you can just like chill out, but that may only be specific to the prestige raid. In other words, like you have to do the prestige raid, not get the helmet, let's say. Then if they're selling the helmet, you can go and then buy it with your legendary shards plus Callus tokens. I don't think you can just, come off the couch on a Monday and be like, oh crap, before reset and try to buy it. What do you think about that?
I like the way you're going with that. Like if they can't make it too easy. If they make it too easy where you can just like, oh, I got leftover shards from last week, I'm just going to go in and see if I can get like, something. Or I've done it like so many times up until now, and I just have so many tokens, I'm just going to keep on waiting every week for it to reset and just buy whatever I need. No, I do like the addition where you have to complete it in order to buy something you want. That should be a thing, because it goes back to, how Xur sells exotics, and I feel like that takes away from the whole grind of trying to get an exotic and having exotics feel exotic. I think that's kind of like in that little area of like, you have to work for it. I feel like you have to work for it.
Yeah, I mean, you should have to play to some degree, right, to get the stuff in the game. So I think that makes sense. And you mentioned exotics, and I don't want to miss this point in terms of the raid encounter and always getting something from encounters. I think if you do get an exotic now from one of those, you're just going to get the item. No more engram, no more having to go to a hole. You'll just get the item. I know that's a subtle thing a lot of people have mentioned before. Like, hey, I just would rather get the actual thing and have that be the excitement, not like, oh, another engram and maybe be disappointed. So
also I hope like they're adding, like going back to the armor perks, and hopefully that they are kind of randomized, like maybe every week it's a different armor with a different armor perk onto it as well, to kind of keep you wanting to come back to try to create that perfect armor set. That could be a really nice addition. I hope they do that. So that could be really nice.
Yeah. So, hey, well, you guys have the hood open, and they did say in a lot of these comments, like, please give us your feedback. If you think we knocked it out of the park, please let us know. If you think that these things are still not what they should be, please let us know. So if you really do care about this game, or if you're even thinking about coming back and you think your suggestion would be a good reason to come back, then they are open certainly for your constructive feedback for some of the changes that they're making. I don't know if this is the last thing under the raids per se, but they are having an exotic raid ghost contender shell. And so it says, while not quite at the grind level of the legendary Nano Phoenix, we felt like we needed to add a chase item to the raid pool to make coming back still have reward potential each week. Enter the contender cell. This ghost can drop from the final encounter in either Leviathan or Eater of Worlds, and we also included some bad luck protection to avoid the previously mentioned Nano Phoenix problem, so that dedicated raiders can rest assured they'll get their hands on this eventually, even if it takes several weeks. What do you think about them introducing an exotic raid shell into the game? To me, this is kind of a 2 for me. This isn't as exciting as the other things. I know it's an item, I know it's an addition, but it's cool, but this didn't really excite me when I read through it per se.
It's like 1 through 5. I don't know, maybe 2, 3. Like, I feel like it's about time they add something like this to a raid, something special to a raid. You know, it's like, oh, this is finally something new, exotic, you know, that you can get from the raid. But at the same time, Ghost Shell, it's neat. But like you said, it's not really that big of a whoop-de-doo, you know. It's like, it's good. I like the way they're, you know, more you know, loot for us, you know. But at the same time, it's cool. It's cool. It's like, it's a neat out of a yippee.
Neat out of a yippee. Okay, well that's a new skill we can use here. But
I can't give you a number because I don't know where I'm going with.
You don't know where you're going with it. I think part of it is, as I read through kind of what it was going to do, and again, they have to probably strike a balance between being too ridiculous, even though, you know, I mean, it's a ghost shell, so I don't really know what you would do with it in terms of making it ridiculous. But people would always complain like, "Oh, wait, this gives somebody like 1,000% chance better at this or that." Like, you know, that's not fair. But it does give you one of the abilities they did say because they did talk through some of the perks is the Seeker of Brilliance, which enables a chance for encounters to drop bright engrams from their loopholes. And every time one doesn't drop a bright engram, it increases your chance of the next one. This is the kind of stuff I think we really like that. Maybe not the bright engram, but like the sentiment, like, hey, if you get ripped off, we help you out in luck. I hope they actually incorporate this in other things.
Yeah, I really do too. Like they slowly going in right directions right here.
The second thing being the Seeker of Opulence means those exotics have a 50% chance to pull from a list of exotics you haven't collected yet. So instead of a standard list, lastly, to top off this already pretty rad ghost, we threw on Seeker of Glory, which provides a tracker for the number of encounters you've defeated on the Leviathan. So maybe that's not the most exciting. I mean, that's cool.
It's cool.
But,
it's neat.
But the two first things, I think, again, they don't excite me so much from like the fact that it's limited to doing those two activities, right? You can't just roll that thing into like, you know, a public event and hope you're getting that exotic you don't have. But those are things we've asked for, right? We asked for like smart loot and like, hey, I don't have this thing, can I not get, you know, the 10th Stompies this week? And then we've also asked like, hey, if I'm not getting the luck that I need, can you increase that in some way? So hopefully they take these things into other aspects. May have some people kick back, well then if I have every exotic, what's the point of me playing? But I mean, I think you start getting into some pockets of players that you just can't. It's please.
Like you can't really dodge those players, though. You still got the people that like dedicate their lives to this game and try to collect everything, and then you come out with this, and you're just like, well, it's pointless for me, you know. But you have players that took a break, like me and you know, it's like we don't play that very often, and giving us a reason to come back, and then giving us something that maybe increases the chance of us getting said items while we juggle other games around. I think that's a really good plus.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it gives you a sense of like that your time is valued there. That you don't, if you want to grind, it's there for you. But if you can't grind that heavily, that you know that your time will be rewarded. And I think that that caters, you know, if we always go back to the, hey, this is for casuals in some way, that certainly caters to some casual people as well as people who play all the time or want to play all the time. And as most of you know, if you've already read the TWAB, those things will be coming in the 1.1.2 patch on January 30th. You can read the TWAB kind of more for that maintenance schedule. We're certainly not going to cover that. But some of the other things coming in the patch, along with the Armor Masterworks and the changes to their raid rewards. So those things are coming really soon. We saw that the Prometheus lens, the Flame Refraction perk now generates ammo instead of pulling from reserve. And they increase the base damage. And I never really got to use this thing. Man, that was actually the last time that you really played a ton of D2 was with that thing. What do you think about those changes?
I just blanked out. Can you repeat that again? Sorry.
Yeah, so for the Prometheus lens, the Flame Refraction perk now generates ammo instead of pulling from reserves, and they increased base damage.
Increased base damage off of the initial nerf, I hope, right? Like they're not like...
Yeah, yes.
So you know. I heard it's pretty crap right now. They did it purposefully just so they can like eliminate it from the Crucible, so people aren't just abusing that. So raising that damage, yes, that is what's needed. I'm sorry, I got distracted because chat's calling him out on the tabs that I have obviously up right now on the screen I'm sharing. They're all about Monster Hunter World and Nier. Literally all my tabs are about Monster Hunter, Nier, and then one about The Last Jedi on YouTube. But
nice.
Yes, damage cap, awesome. I hope it's not nearly as good as what it was. Maybe just tiny. I hope it's like in between what it used to be and better than what Cold Heart is. Cold Heart is kind of like, it's right there. It's not bad. It's not good. You probably won't choose it over most weapons, but at the same time, it's kind of like a neat weapon. You know, it's unique. I hope it kind of keeps that uniqueness. I hope it's not still really crappy. I hope it's not super good like it was, because of course that's going to be meta again. But it generates ammo instead
of pulling from reserve.
Interesting. That could be. So you can technically just be shooting it forever? Is that what that makes it sound like? Like,
yeah, I guess, yeah. So if it's going to generate ammo, so however you get the perk though, so I'm not really sure, I did not go into play laser tag the weekend of trials. So the flame refraction perk now generates that. So I guess as long as the perk is active, you're going to get that. Yeah, it's not like this static effect that's always on.
I'm trying to remember how it worked. I think every kill reloaded it, maybe. I think that's how it happens. So if you kill something, then it just generates even more ammo.
So I guess that's the case now, as opposed to pulling from your reserve. So you have to be killing people for you to get this perk. So in theory, if there was always someone to kill and you were killing them, you would get infinite ammo, I guess.
But then you have to, I guess you still have to reload then. So
you have to reload.
I guess, yeah. So you got ammo, you can keep on using it. I guess for Callus, that could be nice though. At the very, you haven't done a single raid yet?
No, I've done the raid. I just not raided a lot. So I think I've completed the raid, got the Legend of Arceus kind of quest going, and I think I'm at like 8 of 10. So I've probably finished the raid 2 or 3 times, and I've probably attempted it 4 to 6 times. And I did the raid lair once, just the last encounter, to help out some of our clanmates. Needed like one more just like literal body, so I showed up.
So like at the end, I was using Cold Heart a lot, because a lot of people use Cold Heart because the DPS is so great, like so quick. If you generate ammo by like you know those flying skulls, that could be really nice for the DPS phase on Callus. So that sounds really good to me.
Worth testing. So maybe that's not going to come back and be laser tag again, but maybe it found new life in PvE specific to that encounter. So that would be good. Yeah. Some of the other things they did is they fixed an issue where new characters created after the release of Curse of Osiris were not receiving the Flashpoint milestone. That's bad, right? That's one of the easier milestones to get. So, well, it's good they fixed it, but bad that that was happening. I was unaware that was an issue. Players in social spaces like the tower receive a notification when they're lost and found at the postmaster is full. I think that's good. I mean, it's always nice to know when you're at that cap for some people. Like I have on my hunter probably like the full set of gauntlets that I want, boots, and maybe even helmets. So like that stuff's constantly hitting my postmaster. So it'd be nice to know like when I need to do something to start getting actual dismantle points and not just lose stuff completely. Let's see. Heroic Strikes completions now have a greater chance of granting exotic rewards. I know we're not kind of maybe doing the 1 for 5 for this part, but that's probably one of the few incentives that I've read so far in this part that would actually give me a reason to come back, because
that doesn't sound bad at all.
Yeah, doesn't sound bad at all. And you get that powerful engram now. I mean, that's been going on for a while, but you get that powerful engram now for doing 3 heroic strikes. So to know that if you're going to do those 3, you might have a chance at an exotic that's been, greater than it was before, and you're going to get that powerful engram. Heroic strikes, you probably can knock out 3 in, what do you say, like 45 minutes, provided you don't get that Nessus one where you fight the invisible dude. You probably can knock out 3 in like 45-50 minutes, right?
Somewhere around there, I think.
Yeah, so that's not a bad return. Put an hour into the game, maybe get a better chance at an exotic and a powerful engram. So, and then you'll get 30% towards that clan XP thing. I think that actually needs changed a little bit. So
do you what do you mean?
So, like every activity you do usually gives you 10. So public events by far give you the most to complete that. I think if you do a heroic public event, I don't know the exact calculation on that, but you can get like 15 to 20% towards that clan XP. Things I don't like, a heroic strike only gives you 10%. It should definitely be 20, in my opinion. 15 to 20, not 10. That's not like a short investment. And I think Crucible games should give you like
time-wise, you think because of how long it takes. All right, yeah, I can see that. I guess, yeah, I agree with that.
So I think 15. I think Crucible 2 should be 15. I mean, I don't, not to say that I shouldn't have to play to get the clan XP, but like 10, like if you only want to play PvP, you have to play 10 games to get that clan XP done. Maybe that's not a lot. Maybe it's not. But for me, sometimes you play like we played the other night, or not the other night, but like a week or whatever ago with like Wilson, Lego, myself, and Hove. And by that 5th game, we were kind of like, this isn't mayhem anymore, and had our fill.
Maybe in the current state of Crucible, maybe it does. Maybe it seems like it takes too long. But I don't know. It's like I feel like that's not a lot, but at the same time, a lot of the problems that the community sees is stemming from Crucible not being fun anymore, I guess is the way to put it. So maybe I can see that, maybe raising that a little bit. So
Yeah, that would be nice. So in terms of feedback, if you guys are listening, that would be good if you could take a look at maybe balancing the activities for reward, right? I mean, like, you know, you want people that play PvP only to not be, I don't want to say penalized, I think that's the wrong word, but maybe have to put in more effort than someone who just likes to play you, because I think you could do like 4 or 5 public events as long as they're heroic, and you could string those together in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, you can go through those really quickly.
Depending on where you're at, you can string those back
if
really
a bunch
quickly.
of Guardians join in, you can pound those things out like a lot. I've done a lot in like a low amount of time, like when the game first came out.
Yeah, it depends on the planet too. Like if you get one of those planets where it's just like one after another, like EDZ, easily you could do it on. Like Titan, not so much, obviously, but EDZ, you can just be done quickly. Nessus, I mean, obviously IO. So basically, everyone but Titan, you can do this extremely quickly,
pretty much.
One of the other things they fix an issue where Curse of Osiris strikes were not properly granting clan engrams when featured as a Nightfall activity, so good fix there. Fix an issue where challenges were not appearing within quick play. And then they increased the dismantle timer for Masterwork Core. So I think that the first two definitely needed to be done, apparently. But the last one's good, right? You don't want to be able to dismantle a Masterworks Core.
How long did it take?
Too fast.
How long did it take to do that? I haven't really done anything about that yet. I think I dabbled in it like once and then kind of stopped, and then I went to every other game.
I don't know if it was quick, but I was one of those people, like, I wasn't gonna like test, you know what I mean? Like I never like got there like,
you didn't want to lose.
How long would this be? Like how long would this be? So the fact that they're increasing it's fine, but I wasn't like let me just for science see how quickly
were people just accidentally deleting them on. I was like, oh, there it goes, like before they caught it or something. Was that the whole?
I've actually not seen it. You said you're on Twitter, you know, for the most part, if I'm I'm not interacting with the Destiny community, I still read the comments and the tweets, and I've never seen someone be like, gosh dang it, you need to like increase this timer by 5 seconds.
15 times today, accidentally clicked on it, it's gone. What it'd be like 0.5 seconds, you just click on it, it's just gone.
Just
click, like, wow.
Click square. Done.
I don't know. Maybe that was it. I don't know.
If that was it, then good thing they're increasing it. I'm gonna imagine that it's probably at the speed of a legendary, which isn't bad. Like maybe not exotic slow, which I actually think is a little bit too
excessive.
Actually, yeah, if you could shave a second off of that would be great.
I kind of wish they change it to where if you like hit the square to dismantle?
Yeah, square to dismantle.
If you hit square and then a little prompt comes up saying like yes or no, like X yes, circle no. I feel like that would just solve everything. Honestly, I've been saying this ever since D1 because after a while, if you're trying to delete stuff that you can't just delete in stacks, it does kind of get annoying. I forget. Oh no, I forget what it was back then where I started thinking of it. Maybe it was shaders. Going through one shader at a time, trying to make room, and you're just like, I give up.
Well, you're gonna love the next topic we're going into. So those were all things that, again, guys, are coming at the 1.1.2 update on January 30th, next Tuesday. But speaking of having to get rid of stacks or shaders, they actually addressed this as the next item in the TWAB. Shader sit down. They actually had another senior design lead, Tyson Green, came on. He talked about why it's a challenge. So first of all, he knows, hey, deleting these shaders suck, especially if you have like, you know, those, I think, how many Vanguard ones are there? They're like a variety of like orange, blue, white, and gray. Like I can get so many of those. I have like 100 Atlanta Wash, it seems. Avalon Teal, although that's kind of been my jam for a while early because it was the first time we played Trials, right? Didn't like, remember Claw was like just trying to use
yes, yeah. He was ragging on you for
and I didn't want to use all the cool shaders because I'm like, well, what if I hate this one? So I just was like, oh, I got like 30 Avalon Teal at that time. That was the thing,
because like same thing with me, but like I chose all that like the purple and pink like glittery stuff. But I'm like, I'm getting these calluses. I used like one of them once and it looks really cool, but I'm afraid to use them all up because I don't play a lot of the raid, you know, so.
Yeah, you're like, oh, you know, you want to conserve. So I had so many Avalon Teal, and that was early in the game. I think we played Trials. Like, did we play the first weekend Trials came out? I think we did.
I think it was the very first weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Countdown on the new map. So we played it, and so I was like, well, I don't want to like, you know, upset Claw by wearing the worst shader or wearing no shader. So I threw that on there, but they are fixing it. So we talked a little bit about why it's an issue, and the biggest issue is that it's an individual reward, and dismantling also grants like an individual award. So like you get like 25 glimmer or whatever, 50 glimmer or special or what is it? Silver dust, right? You'll get
Yes.
that for certain. You'll get that for certain legendaries. So they said that if you try to dismantle a lot, that the system could like glitch out and you may not get that reward. So if you're like close to the glimmer cap and you dismantle like a ton of these things, you may not get any glimmer for a certain amount. And so they said
Oh, okay.
it's a
All right.
complex issue that they're trying to figure out. He kind of proposed like, here's what we could do, but we know this isn't a big fix. So they did address it full on, pretty much for an issue that, I mean, yeah, it's more of an inconvenience than an issue, but they did go into it quite a bit. They did also suggest that maybe we're going to have another system like the kiosks. We've been fans of the show about having the kiosks in the future. I don't know how that would work, given that like they're kind of consumable items. Maybe once you own it, you can buy one for, I don't know, 100 glimmer, right? You can just keep buying them out of there one at a time. There's not like a limit. I don't know how they'd implement something like that. But what do you think about the shader issue? We know that it sucks. Any other suggestions on how you would implement the shaders?
Honestly, no. If it's just like a technical thing in the background, like they're trying to figure out, then it's understandable now, because it did suck trying to get rid of them, or just more slots maybe for more. I don't know. Like, I really don't know. Now that knowing that it's kind of like a system where they have to work around, because you said each individual shader is a its own thing.
It's tied to an individual reward, so it's just like it's like a 1-to-1. So they can't they don't really have a way of
tie
I guess
it in
grouping
together.
that. Yeah. So it's like it's not as easy as 8 times 8.
That's understandable now. That's
right.
Like, I kind of get where they're going. Other than that, maybe just giving us more slots for more stacks of shaders. Other than that, I don't really know how else to make it better, really.
Yeah, I think the stacks, I don't know, or the space is something that they would want to do if they think a better solution is coming. So I think they're kind of stuck in that position, like, hey, it would be nice, because I think mods and shaders, especially shaders, because that's I think people care about that, and the mod system is still in a work in progress, but only having 50 is catching up fast. Like, it was very hard to any of the dawning shaders. I was like, oh, I don't think I have any rare shaders anymore, almost, unless it's the faction ones, because I just can't take anymore. And so I kind of want to see this new, even if the shaders from the dawning weren't cool and I probably wouldn't wear them, it's like, I don't want to not have them a little bit, right? So I kept them. So going to 100 would be cool, but if they also think here's a better solution coming, I can understand why they don't want to increase space as an interim or waste some programmers.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that's mostly it for the TWAB here. And, for those of you in chat, if you do have any community questions and you want to get those in the mana here in the next couple minutes, you're more than welcome to do so. We don't have any on Twitter. But kind of the last thing in the TWAB was that they are, the webcomic that they released was pretty popular. The one they released, I think, has it been a little bit over a month? I'm not exactly sure how long it's been since the first webcomic come out. Do you remember?
I don't actually know, no.
It's probably been at least a month, right? Probably before Christmas, I would say. But what we know is I think next week the story is going to continue, and they're going to release the next episode in the webcomic. So you kind of get a preview of the Fall of Osiris
Part 2.
Fall of Osiris. So, and I think that's pretty cool. And then again, the last couple parts here is they're kind of talking about how they're going to implement and roll out the patch that we talked about for basically the whole show next week as well. So you can, if you need any more information on that, you can certainly check that out. Man, do you have any community questions for us that we can kind of transition into?
Community questions? No. Chat, if anyone has any questions relating to Destiny or just anything right now, honestly, go ahead and ask in the chat. I'll read them here in a moment. But as of right now, no, I do not.
Well, while we were doing that, I do want to take the time because I'm actually pretty proud of us here that we were able to get the show pretty much what it was. We weren't 100% sure exactly what it is. Everybody's got a busy schedule. Obviously, this isn't our jobs, but I do want to take some time to send some appreciation towards Lego and Hove's way, begrudgingly towards Hove, obviously. One of the things I always thought that was very cool, and I actually think that it's the kind of the meat and potatoes of the show that's evolved probably over the last half year that we've done the show, for sure, last 6 or 7 months that we've done it, is that they don't quite have like a dichotomy where it's not always point and counterpoint with the stances they take, although it does take that form at sometimes. But I really think the dynamic between Hove and Lego is more like a paradigm in which they're like primary colors, so they have very distinct views, and sometimes those views just happen to look like point counterpoint. But I think that that's been an awesome part of the show. So it's kind of different to take on the reins that we have this week. So definitely want to give them a shout out for all that they do on the podcast, not just actually on the show, but behind the scenes. Hove does a lot of the scheduling. Lego does a bunch of stuff technically. Mana, who is a streamer, was kind of like, we were marveling at all the things Hove could do to like start the stream. Like
I had no idea. So right now, I click certain things in the panic of me swapping monitors, because when I first started streaming, I had my Audacity and my dashboard up, and I was like, wrong screens. Let me swap things real. Now all I have is Triton's huge. I'm small. I am microscopic right now. I have no idea how Hove. I am super tiny in the corner. I have no idea how Hove makes it to where you can see me. You don't need a microscope. But yeah, I don't know where they found these things, and yeah, obviously everything's noobish right now. I don't know how to bloom it up. I don't know how to do anything. But yeah, shout out to those guys for having everything in check.
For getting everything ready to go for us each and every week. We do appreciate it, you guys. Man, did you get any Twitter questions or
all right
community questions in that time?
Any more questions? Let's see. These are probably all unserious, like not serious at all. Man, why are you bad at games? Yeah, just because I am. Man, are you streaming Monster Hunter World eventually tomorrow? Fold or crumble? I think we had the same thing last week, didn't we? Or
what was the question?
Fold or crumble? I'm guessing toilet paper.
Oh,
we answered that a couple weeks ago, didn't we?
We did. I don't remember that one at all.
Were you not there?
I have not missed a show in a while. I'm just gonna say that.
I swear we. Oh, there's Lego right there. Yo, what's up, dude? I swear we. A couple weeks ago we had that where mine was kind of like
or crumble.
See, when I grab toilet paper, I kind of fold it around my fingers, take my fingers out. It was like kind of like almost like a fold, but then like I kind of like bloom it into like a crumble. You know, it's like around the hand and then take my hand out and just kind of hold it.
For me, it's gonna. So I don't remember this question, and I swear I was at I haven't missed an episode in a while, but I think for me, it depends on like what we're talking about. If you're in like one of those very generic restaurants that's basically going to use the sandpaper, you really have to make that as cushiony as humanly possible. But if you're at your home and you happen to buy Charmin or Double Ply or whatever that is, then you could probably freelance a little bit more. That's it doesn't matter at that point. But yes, if it is that sandpaper stuff, you have to do everything in your power to
everything,
make that
whatever you gotta you gotta do whatever you can, man. All right, here's one: 2B or Gunga. How about Gunga into 2B cosplay? Whose stick is this? I'm gonna skip that. I just noticed man in the corner. And then Lego's chilling. I'm literally I'm hiding in this corner right now. Skipping ID's question. Do you prefer alligators or crocodiles? Definitely alligators, dude. Ask him if he has played Nier. Then if not, what is he doing with his life? Question. We were actually talking about this before I streamed. What are you doing with your life?
Right now, I told Mana, so we're talking about like a myriad of things, because as it was getting close to 10, we were trying to figure out our plan plus other things, but then got distracted and actually talked about games. So I could only really play a certain game one at a time. So something like Nier, which I knew was going to be like a time sink in terms of like I was going to get involved in the story, that there's like RPG elements. I saw the hack and slash like Square Enix makes this. I was like, oh, this is a game. That's all I'm going to play. And clearly we're trying to play Destiny as much as we can. And I also got Battlefront 2 for like $30 in there. Hey, we're sorry for screwing up all those star cards and loot crates. So $30 a month after it releases. And I've been trying to get all the platinums there. So I'm kind of one of those players that I really like to get the platinum trophy. And once I do, can kind of like scale the landscape. So I do own it. I did buy it on Black Friday for $24.99. Actually, good story that I went to GameStop for it. I feel like I win Black Friday every year. The reason I say that is because when I get something, like I'm in line at GameStop, I'm in the actual, I'm like fourth in line. Some guy behind me like just grabs all the games. Like, you know, you could like grab the stock games off the shelf. So he grabs the box off the shelf, and he just gets in line with the box. Well, the way the line worked out and the person in front of me decided to trade in an Xbox on Black Friday, whatever. But he gets in the same, we both get to different cashiers at the same time. They only have one more copy of Nier left. So the two cashiers start fighting with each other as to which one of us should get it. This kid who I was arguing with, he wanted to play like rock, paper, scissors. I'm like, no, bro, I was in line first. Ultimately, I got the game, $24.99. And I told my sister-in-law next to me, I said, you know how you won Black Friday? When someone's Christmas got a little bit worse because yours got better. That's exactly how you know.
Savage.
That's exactly how you know. So I do have that game. It has sentimental value to me, but I haven't played it yet.
So there you have it, chat. He has it. He can be saved. Okay, he just hasn't played it yet. Get around to it. It's really good. You have to commit some time to it, but get around to it.
Well, I will.
So let's see. The Fold and Crumble, new meta. Oh, you know it. Let's see. Did you break up with Hovey or did Hovey break up with me? I think Hovey broke up with me. I'm not as good as Swoley Bible, so he adopted Swoley. What are your favorite beers? Shit, I don't know. I'm not as in depth as a lot of people are with beers. I go with a good lager. And or I think Yingling. I think Yingling might be my favorite. I jump back into some Land Sharks here and there.
Okay. I am only a social drinker, so it usually comes down to the draft special. So Yingling at a local restaurant that we have here in like local bar, it's always like $2.50 for happy hour. So that ends up becoming the one of choice. But a couple times we'll get like IPAs in. Like we live close to the Great Lakes Brewing Company. Like you live probably like an hour from there, man. From Cleveland.
Maybe. Yeah.
Like 2 hours, like roughly. So they're up there. So occasionally they'll get in some of like their seasonal IPAs, and I'll drink those. But I don't really have a huge preference as like a father of four. You would think that would drive me to maybe drink more beer, but there's just not that many opportunities. So not a lot of opportunities.
It's like whenever I try something new, I swear I get the thing that I dislike. So then I get afraid to go out and try more flavors, more types of beers, And so then I always retreat back to my like college days light beers and the stuff I already know I like. And once again, I'm a social drinker. I don't really drink ever, like just chilling. I actually only drink on Fridays now, unless I actually go out with people. So like I just always get something light or a lager or just something I know I'm going to enjoy. Maybe a mixed drink. I've actually been having a lot of rum and cokes lately, now that I think of it. But let's see. Ice Prime, what's a gator doing out of Florida? And once Guardian Con come, will you finally settle in your natural habitat? Hey, I settled there last year, and I ate my own species, so there's that. Gator nuggets. That was actually pretty good.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You talked about that before.
By the way, with the stupid GPU prices, if you buy them directly from NVIDIA, their normal prices, not the inflated price, that's 2 or 3 more. That's so random, Silvertones. And Unreal with the final one, Manigator and Triton. Do you guys know the way? Followed by Lucky and Butt Wipes emote for Ugandan Knuckles. Do you know the way?
I think that's probably like one of those street things. No, I'm gonna go with no. Like I really don't. So I don't. The other day, this like intern girl that we have in the office before I was transitioning jobs, like basically came over and she just said somebody was extra, and then like I knew the basic thing, but she called somebody extra, and I really had to like kind of like navigate my way around to figure what that out before I look like a complete loser. Yeah. So if that's a street thing, I don't know. I
never really ever heard extra being used that way until I started dating Gunga. So yeah, it's I don't think it's in my vocabulary at all. And I hate that meme, Unreal. I hate that you asked that question. So, I don't know. Pretty much, I think our questions are getting more and more ridiculous as we go on. So, anything else?
Okay, well, we do appreciate the questions. Again, we didn't have them out on Twitter. So, appreciate your chat coming in with whatever questions, whether it be fold or crumble, to something that neither one of us knew what it meant. So,
I swear we answered that just a couple weeks ago.
I know that I did. I have not missed a show in a while.
True. Like, it's true. Like, I missed more than you recently.
I will be lording this over Ho for a long time though, because he almost never misses. So like the fact that he missed this, like I will mention this quite a bit. Both
him and Lego, and then we had to take over. This is our stream now. We are the captains now. All right.
I know Lego should be proud if he is in chat, and he has. I don't know when he came into chat.
He was. Yeah.
I did not derail this into healthcare reform or the fact that the government closed recently, or anything like that. So he should be very proud.
Oh, I thought you were just about to get into it. I thought you almost crossed into the dark side right
almost crossed into the dark side. But no, thank you guys for your question. I think we probably are ready to shut this down, though. But what I would like, though, this week is if you guys do tweet at us, you can find us at RezoCast on Twitter. If you do message us, you can see and let us know maybe some of these things. Say, hey, like this was a 5 for me. This was a 1 for me. Maybe I won't be able to come back. So if you can come back to Mana. I don't know what Mana's doing. Did you lose your mic?
No, I made you small.
Oh,
I clicked something.
okay. So Mana has now, by the end of the show, figured this out. So proud of Mana. But yeah, we would like to know what you think about some of these changes, particularly through the lens of whether or not they would draw you back. Like I said, you could find RezoCast at RezoCast on Twitter. You could find me on Twitter primarily at Triton Please, the all being one word, please being PLZ, also on YouTube, and hopefully at least one day a week on Twitch, so we could use all this cool stuff that we got from Blue Microphones. Shout out for sponsoring us again. Where can they find you, Mana?
You can find me all the time, almost every single day, except for mainly Mondays, at Twitch at the Manigator. That is my life. I stream all the time, play all the games, and you can find me on Twitter. Follow me so you know my stream times. If I change it up, I change it up a lot because I suck at sleeping. And on YouTube, I haven't played any multiplayer games recently, so I have no clips to gain. But I do want to start making highlights for YouTube at the Manigator. Everything's the Manigator. Make it easy for you.
Oh, well, thanks, Mana. And you could also find more about Resolute at Team Resolute on Twitter, as well as teamresolute.com. Thank you guys for stopping by. Episode 70, RezoCast. Next week, we'll probably be back full staff. But thank you guys for popping in just for Mana and I today. And until next time, guys, GG's.
GG's.